So good to see you today. I hope you've had a blessed week. Tuesday took me 20 minutes to carve my way out of my driveway. So it's nice to be hitting the road and getting out and seeing people. A lot of things have changed. Heath mentioned the men's breakfast has been moved. We sent a text out about it being on February 1st. That was a lie. It's on February 22nd now. We don't have a sign-up list up yet, but we will. If you signed up before, you're going to have to sign up again just to make sure that we got the right number of people that are coming. But if you have a calendar, go ahead and put that on your calendar and pray for no more snow. That'll be our goal for that. 26th of February is our spaghetti luncheon after church on Sunday morning. January 26th, thank you. My head thought January, but my mouth said February. January 26th, after worship. It's a free meal. You're invited to come and enjoy it with us. It is a fundraiser, so any donation that you can make will go to help support our teen ministry as they head out in February to Winterfest. So that trip is rather expensive, and we keep the price low for the teens, about half of what it really costs to send them there. So your help with doing that helps make sure that that gets done, and you get to participate in helping send them off. And parents, you guys are probably paying a lot of money anyway. So, but everybody else, if you'll donate some to that, that would be very helpful. There's a sign-up list up back there, so we'll kind of know how many to expect. So, in the next week or two, make sure your name is back there so we can plan on that, and then stay with us after Sunday morning for that great meal together. Most, but not all of our Christmas decorations are down. Nancy, where are you? Yeah? You need help today doing things?
Yes, right after service.
Okay, if some people can help. If you're not part of the kids program or a part of the teen ministry, then if you can help Nancy, we got to take down this Christmas tree back here, or as I like to call it, a Valentine's Day tree. And a lot of other stuff gets put away, so if you can do that. Christmas Card Central is gone, but you can see over here on the back tables, there are bundles of Christmas cards. A lot of people who either haven't been here in a while or maybe shut in, and they're not able to get out and come with us, but a lot of people have remembered them, and one great way that you can minister to them is to pick up a bundle or two, and sometime this next week, just drive by their house. Spend a moment greeting them at the door, sharing the cards with them. They may even invite you in for a piece of cake and a cup of coffee. Just that face-to-face contact is vital especially for people who are shut in. But even for people who haven't been here in a while, just to let them know that we still remember them, love them, and would love to have them come back and join us. So if you'll do that, that would be much appreciated. They will be out today and then no more. So make sure you pick up bundles of cards a day before you leave and deliver them. If you need help finding their address, it's in the online directory, or you can talk to me or one of our elders. We'll make sure that you get an address for that. All right, when you were a kid, what did you want to be when you grew up? Now, I grew up in the 70s, and almost any kid of the 70s had one career goal, and that was to be an astronaut. We wanted to fly. It was the era of the Apollo, and I built a model of the Saturn V rocket. It was as tall as I was, so maybe about 6 foot. No, it was about like that. But I wanted to be an astronaut so bad, and it was exciting, exhilarating to see them do that. And to think about me going into space, I had no clue about what it took to be an astronaut. All I just knew is that I wanted to be one, and I thought, sure, why not? Anybody could be an astronaut. That was my thinking at the time. There was this sense of possibility. There was that sense of anything's capable out there, and you probably had jobs or careers or things you wanted to happen to you when you were a kid, big dreams you had for yourself. Our elders had big dreams. You may not think of these guys as big dreamers, but they had big dreams. Like Steve Jones. Steve told me this the other day he wanted to be a hairdresser. And we were, instead, you know. But sadly, it wasn't to be, you know. Klosky wanted to be an actor, didn't you, Klosky? You like acting, and he tried out for the 10 Commandments, and he knew all 10 Commandments, he just didn't get the part. Chuck wanted to play for the Boston Celtics, and we were really excited about that. Jim Williams wanted to be a NASCAR driver, and so he Dennis Enix, he wanted to be in a 70s hair band. It's interesting as you laugh, because here's a picture of Jim Williams next to his 1970 Camaro Super Sport that he did race. Technically, illegally, he raced. Didn't he get caught?
No, only if you get caught.
Oh, yeah, only if you get caught. Yeah. And Dennis Enix, you may be surprised, was in a rock band. Now, he looked pretty tame there. Dennis says that he has destroyed all the pictures of him with hair down to his waist, okay? So Dennis had it at one time. He was cool at one time, okay? No longer, but he was cool at one time. When you're kids, anything seems possible. Nothing seems beyond your reach. And then you grow up and you get knocked down a few times and you start to become realist. Really, if you live long enough, you start to become pessimist. You know, like the default answer is, no, that's not possible. That's not going to happen. Suddenly we stop dreaming about our futures, about our families, about our churches. That shift from being a dreamer to a pessimist usually occurs when we start to realize my abilities have limits. I can only do certain things. I mean, Chuck's a good guy, and I'm thankful he had this dream of being an NBA player. But you know, at 5'8", that dream had to die sometime, okay? In fact, Chuck says now 5'8" is generous, okay? The reality of human capabilities, of my capabilities, limits my dreams. I just realize I'm not going to be fast enough. I'm not going to be smart enough. I'm not going to be able enough to do the big things that I've dreamed of. But what if some dreams did not depend upon your abilities? So Abraham was 75 years old when God called him to leave his family in Haran and to travel down to Canaan with his nuclear family. And God shared with Abram a dream that he had for him. In Genesis chapter 12, here's what God told Abram. I will make you into a great nation, and I will bless you, and I'll make your name great, and you will be a blessing. I will bless those who bless you, and whoever curses you, I will curse, and all the people on earth will be blessed through you. Now, that kind of dream had to leave this 75-year-old man puzzling about something. Guys, Lily, up here. Abram was married, no kids, maybe a dog, a bunch of cats. That's it. And God's saying, you're going to be a father to a great nation. He says, future generations are going to look back and say, Abram was a great man. He's saying all the people groups on the earth are going to look to you and realize you were responsible for bringing blessings to all of them. Now, it's true, in Abram's era, people lived longer than they do today. Abraham lived to be 175, so he had 100 years to go. But let me tell you, their fertile time period was pretty short, okay? Their child conceiving age was limited, not exactly like ours, but pretty close to ours. So Abram, 75-year-old man, already on Medicare. And God says, I have a dream for you. You're going to be a great man. You're going to have a great family. You're going to be a blessing to the whole world. 5 years later, God appears to Abraham again. He says, don't be afraid, Abram. He says, I am your shield. I am your great reward. And Abram, full of faith, says, where in the world is this reward I've been promised? He says, look, I have no kids. I'm 80 years old plus. My entire estate is going to end up going to one of my servants. And that's when God led Abram outside of his tent to look up at the sky. Not a St. Louis sky. I'm talking about out in the country sky, where you can see stars that go on forever. And he says, you see all those stars up there? He says, your descendants will be as numerous as the stars you see in the sky. 80-year-old man, God's got this dream for him. Now, 20-something years later, Abraham is 99 years old. And God reminds him again of this dream that he has for him. He says, Abraham, you're going to have a son. Sarah, your wife, is going to conceive. She's going to have a child. And the text says in chapter 17 that Abraham bowed his face to the ground. You say, well, that would be a natural response. No, I think Abraham was hiding his face because he was laughing. He says he bowed his face to the ground and laughed. And he said to himself, can a son be born to a man who is 100 years old? Can Sarah bear a child at the age of 90? In fact, soon after that, some angelic guest came to Abraham's tent. He was hospitable and welcomed them in for a meal. And while they were there, they said that by this time next year, Sarah, your wife, is going to have a child. And Sarah, off in the other room, lets out this laugh of disbelief. She says, after I'm worn out, and my Lord Abraham, he's old, you're telling me I'm going to have this joyful pleasure now? In fact, the writer of Hebrews said it a bit more bluntly. The writer of Hebrews says this, Abraham was as good as dead. Let me tell you, if you have a doctor's appointment, and after the examination, the doctor says, you are as good as dead, that's not a hopeful answer, okay? In fact, the guest of Abraham says, why is she laughing? And Sarah says, I'm not laughing. They go, no, we heard you laughing. But those guests turned to Abram and Sarah, and they opened their eyes to something. Really, it was in form of a rhetorical question. And here's what they asked him. Is anything too hard for the Lord? And that's probably a good question for us to ask ourselves. Is anything too hard for the Lord? I'm sure Sarah pondered that question over the weeks to come until one day she realized she was pregnant. And within the year, she gave birth to a son. This unbelievable dream was coming true. So the question is, are you a dreamer or not? Yes. Amen. Or are you kind of someone who's kind of given up on dreaming? Do you have big dreams for your marriage? Or if you're not married, do you have big dreams for the man or woman that you're hopefully going to get married to? Do you have big dreams about that? Or do you have so many years under your belt that you just kind of given up on some of those dreams? It's not possible. Do you aspire to be a powerful force for change in your circle, in your world? That you can really make a difference? Or have you come to believe, you know what, we don't really amount to much in this world. Nothing I can do can shift any dynamic out there. It's just not going to happen. Do you long to honor God and to be changed by His grace to become holy, more righteous than you've ever dreamed possible? Or have you sinned and fallen so many times that you just say, you know, this is as good as it gets. There's no better version of me than what you're seeing right now. Well, let me tell you, if your aspirations are limited to what you can muster yourself, then you've got reason to be pessimistic, all right? Because life tells us that things physically, humanly, strength-wise, cognitively, things are going on a downward trajectory. But if you rely on the power of God, if you just seek to experience the dream that He has for your life, if you truly believe nothing is too hard for the Lord, then it doesn't matter how old you are. It doesn't matter how often you've been knocked down. It doesn't matter how many times you failed or disappointed other people. You can continue to dream big and bold dreams for yourself. So over the next few weeks, we're going to look at some people in Scripture who were big dreamers. And look, my end goal here is I'm not real hopeful that one of you is going to part the Red Sea, all right? I'm not just crossing my fingers and wishing that maybe one of you is swallowed by a big fish and then goes and changes the world because of that. But what I am believing is this, that if we will dream big dreams, that God can use us for His mission, that God can help defeat sin in us and make us more holy people, that God can take our families, our marriages, and our children's lives, and as much as we've messed that up, that God can take that and make good relationships, build good relationships out of it. That God can take this church and do things that we would never have envisioned possible through the efforts of normal, everyday, flawed people. that's a reason to be a dreamer today. And so my plea to you is this: never, 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 never give up on dreaming for God's powerful will and vision for your life to take shape. Sunday morning, good chance that most people here are disciples of Jesus. You love and honor him. You've been immersed into his kingdom. You've been washed with the water, symbolizing the washing of sins away from us. You may have been sitting in that same pew for years. But I suspect that even those who've been around a few years have cause to dream bigger dreams than they're dreaming right now. And if you're not a disciple of Jesus, if you've been saying yes sometime, sooner or later, after I know enough, when it's right, when life isn't as busy, God's saying to you today, why don't you start dreaming today? Why don't you participate in the promises that I have to offer you today? And so we're going to sing this song, and we're going to give you the opportunity to decide if you want to be a dreamer or not. And if you do, you can come down front. You can tell us what your needs are. Maybe it's things that's burdened you. You want to be releasing them. We'll pray with you. Maybe it's this commitment to be a disciple of Jesus. We'll be glad to take your confession and immerse you into Christ. But let's start this year off 1 week late, realizing that because we serve a big God, we can dream big dreams. And if you need to make that public today, why don't you do so as we stand and sing this song together.